Welcome, YouTube. And I forget to shut off the music once again because I always forget. Hello, YouTube. It's Birdo Prey 5 again. Thomas, I don't know how you do it. I don't think I want to know. Zethon, number 2. Fitting. The Mr. Pete channel needs 600 subs. Mr. Pete, I thought we got you above 600 already. But thank you for coming by. As you might notice, today's stream's theme is America. Only because it's an evening stream. And I thought, well, maybe there's a little more of a chance some of the people on this side of the pond will be around, as opposed to when I usually do them earlier in the day. I can't do a stream as late as Anti-Tracker or Doomcock or the rest of them because frankly I'm just usually asleep by then. But 7 p.m. Eastern, I can do that once in a while, maybe even 8, but not going to be much later than that. So, hello, and if you're not from the United States, don't get scared away. I won't keep the flag up all night unless everybody wants it, but just as a treat for those of you actually in the United States. Mr. Pete channel says he thinks we're subbed. Well, I think you are too if you got the notice. And I'm certainly subbed to you, so yes. Zethon says, hey guys, don't forget to tune into my cooking show tomorrow. I'm going to make breakfast in the morning. Yes, everybody here, all, I don't know, 5 of you, probably 4 plus me. If you are at all interested, come like, I don't know, 10 a.m. Eastern, around there. Zethon will usually wake up, get out of bed because he's lazy. He doesn't get out of bed till like 9, 10 o'clock. And he will make himself breakfast and he will live stream it on YouTube as a show. I kind of call it like cooking for idiots because he explains exactly what he's doing every step of the way, and even though every show he's made the exact same breakfast every time, egg sandwich with sausage, it's still fun to watch. Oh, Sassy. Come on, Sassy girl. What is she barking at? There's literally no one outside. It's okay. It's okay. Sassy. Sorry about that. Yes, so if you're around, feel free to subscribe to his channel. It's an interesting watch, and you never know when he might drop the eggs on the stove like he's done at least once, or maybe burn himself. You got serious flames going there. Always potential for a disaster. Or just could be the day he doesn't cook the sausage enough, and it might be his last time making breakfast for a while. You don't know. J Dibs. Donald Trump hires prominent Bitcoin supporter Mick Mulvaney to White House staff. Woo. Dibs is my cousin. He is very much into cryptocurrency. We talked about doing a cryptocurrency live stream one day. I think that'd be fun. I'm a little more hesitant on cryptocurrency, but he is all in on it, and he knows a hell of a lot more than I do about it. So I think it would be a good stream one day to have him talk a little. I'll ask a lot of questions because I still just don't get my head around half of it. But yeah, anything crypto, Dibs is your man. Mr. Pete channel, Doggy, yes, that is Sassy the Beagle, and she barks at random times. Zethon, here's a teaser. Tomorrow I'm using bacon. Bacon. Well, I'm definitely tuning in now. Now I'm wondering, is this bacon and sausage or just bacon? Either way, you got me. Now you see, bacon is the one food I'm okay with burning. Because you see, Zethon likes his eggs brown, like the color of sewage brown eggs, with just a little bit of white or yellow still visible after all the cooking. The complete opposite of how I like eggs. But bacon, yeah, bacon I would burn to a flaky crisp if I could. That's fine with me. Mr. Pete channel says Zethon is making him hungry. Kind of making me hungry too. So, it is now Christmas plus 2 days. We are well on our way to New Year's. Christmas is behind us, but tomorrow I am having kind of my Christmas because I have family coming over. I wasn't even able, I stopped counting at some point at the number of people coming, and they're coming in the evening. So yeah, I certainly will not be live tomorrow evening at all. I will be busy, in fact. It's going to be a long day for me tomorrow. I've got physical therapy. In fact, I just got a call. They're coming to take my blood in the morning. Then I have a morning physical therapy appointment. Then if I'm lucky, I'll get to eat a little lunch. Then my nurse comes, and then I have maybe an hour to get ready for my family is showing up. My aunt, uncle, their friends, cousins, lots of cousins, my sister, and I don't know what we'll be eating exactly. It doesn't matter to me much, but tomorrow is like when I get to see everybody I haven't seen in the past month. It's gonna all be tomorrow. Did your physical therapist eventually arrive yesterday? No, Thomas, she did not. I called her eventually and she apologized profusely, but thought that the appointment was for today, which I said was fine. I really didn't mind it, but I mean, we definitely wrote it down for Wednesday. So she ended up coming today, and she's going to come back again tomorrow. So like back-to-back appointments is kind of pushing it for me, especially when, I usually only do 2 appointments a week anyway. So I try to spread them out through the week, at least the day in between. But with Christmas and New Year's coming up, I guess we're pushing them together for this week. So the only good thing is that she'll be coming earlier than usual, like 10 a.m. or so. So by 11:30 the latest, we should be done. That gives me at least a few hours between the time she's done and the time I got to get ready for my nurse to come. Of course, that's usually the time Anti-Tracker is streaming, so I'll probably be listening to him in between. Well, here is something I'm going to be doing in an upcoming video. It's not going to be a live video. I'm actually going to put together an edited video, because apparently you need those types of videos to actually grow the channel some, I'm told. And we'd be at 150 subscribers, but we're at 149 because my sister decided to unsubscribe. Yep, my sister unsubscribed. She unsubscribed because I mentioned the word Donald Trump in several recent streams. If you've been watching, you know what I've said, but just the mere mention of his name was enough. So we're at 149 last I checked. 150 hopefully very, very soon. But anyway, so this video I'm doing soon is going to be on Joe's sister is a bully. No, she's not a bully, Zethon. We've been over this. The Mr. P channel says, "Hail Trump. All hail God Emperor of Mankind, Trump." Oh boy. Now she'll definitely never subscribe. And if she subscribed to you, Mr. Pete, she's going to unsubscribe. Yes, she probably does, Thomas. I'd say she probably does. I don't know where she picked it up from. It's like everybody in our family, Trump supporters, or at least don't hate the guy. But, I mean, for the first time in 2016 was maybe the first time in memory that I could think of that literally everyone in my family, aside from the two perhaps most left-leaning people, agreed on the same candidate, and she was one of those two. But you know what? I mean, Thomas and others, and Zethon will remember I said this to him. In the days after Trump was elected, I was very much of the opinion we needed to put our differences aside. I was all for coming together. When some people were calling to lock Hillary up at that point, I said, no, it's over, let it be. It's time, we got to get past all this negativity. I don't care what side you were on before. I'm not going to go vindictive and say Trump should start trying to get Hillary locked up. And even Trump himself didn't attempt to get Hillary locked up. He backed off on it too. At the time, a real effort was made by some people to try to get back to reason and try to get back to civility. And to be honest, now it's not everyone on one side or the other, but quite a few people on the other side would not have it. They did not want civility. They did not want to come to the table. They wanted, they saw hate in their eyes, and nothing you could say to them would change their minds. And that was the most upsetting part of it all. We had a chance to reconcile. Donald Trump himself and many of his supporters were of the let bygones be bygones. We're here, let's move forward. And so many people on the other side were not willing to meet halfway. They weren't even willing to meet 25% of the way. So what did we end up with? We ended up with a independent independent counsel, supposedly looking for Russian collusion for 2 years now. Nothing at all on Russian collusion has been found. Yeah, he found some sleazebag lawyers did some illegal things. Big surprise. I mean, the way laws are written these days, pretty much anyone has probably done something illegal if they've done anything in their life. I mean, if you've got a mortgage, you could have well done something illegal simply by the way you filled out your mortgage forms. It's literally a federal crime. Do people get prosecuted for it? Almost never, except if the government needs a reason to prosecute you. They will go looking to see when you filed your mortgage and if you lied about anything at all. And if you did, boom, they have you on a federal charge, and that's how the game works. That is how the game works. So yeah, if they want to get you on something, they've already got you. The laws are that complicated and that ridiculous, and if they want to find a reason to charge you with something, almost 100% of the time they can. So this prosecutor has been unable to actually charge Trump with anything related to Russian collusion, but to save face or whatever, he finds reasons to charge people close to Trump with the bullshit, ridiculous, charges that, yeah, technically they did something illegal, but yeah, you know what, I'm sure technically the Clintons did plenty of illegal stuff. And, so many other people do illegal stuff in politics and they don't get charged. Is it right that they don't get charged? No, but also it's not right to unequally, to apply it unequally just in, a political witch hunt. which it exactly is. I mean, Trump describes that pretty spot on. If there was actual collusion between Trump and the Russians, I'd be the first person who'd want to know about it. I really would. But there isn't. There isn't. I mean, they don't even know that the Russians hacked the DNC. That there's almost no way to know that for sure. But it is, we're told by the press, that's the science is settled. All of the intelligence agencies agree the Russians hacked the DNC. Well, you know what? The intelligence agencies are part of the swamp. They are part of the swamp that Trump is there to drain. As much as they might be useful, they exist now to protect themselves. Their primary goal is self-preservation. And, I'm sure the people who run them, the most moral and upstanding people do not become spies. They do not become CIA operatives. They do not become NSA. They don't. You just can't live a double life and be the most moral, upstanding person. It doesn't work like that. I mean, just from the beginning founding of the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover, arguably the most corrupt politician ever to come out of Washington, D.C. Hypocrite and corrupt to the core. But he headed the FBI. He turned it from a two-bit organization into the premier law enforcement wing of the federal government. But at his core, he was corrupt. Doesn't mean everything he did was bad, but we know now, looking back, he was corrupt. He kept files, secret files on every government official so he could blackmail them. There's no nice way of saying that. That is the epitome of corruption. It is not at all what you want in a national leader. And frankly, he threatened people with revealing homosexuality as a way to blackmail them, because in those days, to reveal someone as a homosexual pretty much guaranteed the end of their careers, the end of their families, or whatever else. And I don't know for sure. I know the guy, but everything I've read about him says that he was probably a homosexual himself. So, like, the epitome of hypocrisy, even, besides all that. I mean, I don't care if he was or he wasn't, but the very fact, the way he held on to power and the way he got control of so many people, to do it and to be it yourself is crazy. And I've gone on another rant and ignored 50 probably comments that have passed. And I don't even know what the hell we were talking about. What did we start? Oh boy. Let me go back up to the comments. Okay, it wasn't 50. It was like 20. The Mr. Pete channel says Donald Trump hates immigrants so much he married 2 of them. Zethon says, ha ha, Joe's candidate wins and suddenly he thinks people need to come together and fix the country. If only those people could have been more like the Republicans during Obama's terms. Mr. Pete Channel says it's a huge group. 80% of Democrats want Trump impeached. Thomas Bott says when Obama won, Republicans went on with their lives. Democrats didn't when Trump won. Exactly, Thomas. Yeah, okay, there were people like Trump and myself who said that we want to see the birth certificate, but we didn't go out and stop traffic. We didn't hold protests in front of the White House. We didn't march around our cities demanding to see the birth certificate. We just said we want to see the birth certificate. And that was pretty much it. You know, that there was an opinion, and if somebody asked us, we'd say, yeah, we want to see the birth certificate. But we didn't stop the country from working until we saw the birth certificate. Which is another story I'll go into. When the Republicans tried to impeach Clinton, they lost big time in the elections after. Well, just to be clear, Thomas, the Republicans did impeach Clinton. What they couldn't do was remove him from office. But yes, that is a very, very good lesson that I think Democrats would be smart to remember. That if they do, I mean, it is very possible the Democrats could impeach Trump. They have the votes to do it. What they don't have the votes to do, well, they might have the votes to do it. What they would never have the votes to do, at least not in any foreseeable future, is to remove him from office. So if they only impeach him, but he remains in office, they're going to have serious blowback come the next election cycle. At least all history would presume that. So we'll see how smart they are. I don't think Pelosi, if she wins election as Speaker of the House, will actually pursue impeachment because of that simple reason. But they don't have an easy answer, the Democrats, because half their base is so, I'm going to say stupid, but ill-informed, that they think impeachment is going to happen, is going to be the best thing. They don't realize that impeaching the president doesn't mean removing him from office. They don't realize that they have no hope of removing Trump from office. But they will be mad at Democrats who don't move for impeachment. But the Democrats who know better know that moving for impeachment would, besides being a waste of time, money, would be political suicide for them going into 2020. So it's kind of a damned if they do, damned if they don't thing. Frankly, if they do try to impeach Trump, that will only rally his supporters, kind of like the Brett Kavanaugh hearings rallied support around Trump when it was starting to fade a bit. So yeah, I don't know what Democrats do, to be honest. They've got the House. The smartest thing they could do is make deals with Trump so that they could claim they're getting stuff done, and they honestly would be getting stuff done, and they would have a say in what's happening because they control the House. And Trump is willing to work with them. He's said that. He's shown that. At the end of the day, Trump is a negotiator. He says he wants $5 billion for the wall. It means he will take $2.5 billion. He will take $2.5 billion. If they offer him a budget with $2.5 billion for the wall, he would sign that tomorrow, because that's exactly the type of thing he does. He negotiates. Now, $2.5 billion isn't enough to build half a wall. It's not enough to build a quarter of the wall. But it's enough to get started. It's enough to everybody to be happy. It's not enough to cover the whole border with a wall. Not by a long shot. So the people who are really against the wall really don't have to worry, because it's not enough to create the wall. But the people who are for the wall at least sees some work getting started, and the places in most desperate need of extended border wall or fence, whatever you want to call it, will at least get to see some of that done. So yeah, the smartest thing Democrats could do is negotiate with him and try to get some legislation passed. I don't think it's going to happen. I think we're in for 2 years of constant deadlock. I don't even see, honestly, how we're going to see the government reopen. I don't know. I'd be afraid if I was a government worker, a so-called non-essential government employee. I would be battering down for the long haul, because I don't see how it happens that Trump folds on reopening the government. Will Pelosi and Schumer fold? Maybe. I don't know, though. I don't know. They should, because they don't have, they have one house, one half of Congress. They do not have the executive branch. They have half the legislative branch, and I would even argue half the judicial. But by all rights, Republicans still hold the majority. They hold the majority in the Senate. They hold the majority of governorships. So, if they can get any voice at the table, they've done well for themselves. Zethon says most. I doubt that. I feel the extreme right and extreme left mostly represented by a vocal minority. I know, Zethon, you don't believe that the left does anything wrong unless it's in equal or less numbers than the extreme right. I know that's your opinion. I disagree, but I know I'm not going to change your mind on it. So, Mr. P channel, every Democrat politician wants to restrict firearms. Every Democrat supports more regulation. Every Democrat politician wants government-run business. They're full-blown socialists now. You know what, Mr. P channel, that very well might be right. I don't know what every Democrat feels on the different states and local levels. I was actually surprised when Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton were in their first debate. I didn't know a lot about Bernie Sanders, to be completely honest, but the question came up because right now gun manufacturers have a law protecting them. Gun manufacturers and gun stores have a law protecting them from being sued if a gun they manufacture or sell is used in the commission of a crime. Because assuming they followed federal law, they only were able to sell the gun after getting permission from the federal government to sell the gun to this person. So, and the fact is that in the United States, you can sue anyone for anything, more or less. I mean, if I was driving past a Burger King and I got hit by a car coming out of the Burger King drive-thru, I could sue Burger King. It doesn't mean I would win, but I could sue them. And the reality is that they would probably settle for some amount rather than risk going to trial. So, yeah, I mean, it's not right. It's not Burger King's fault that some idiot driver was leaving their drive-thru, you know, eating a burger and stuffing fries down their mouth, not looking where they were going as they left onto the street. But nothing stops me from suing Burger King. And Burger King has to literally send a lawyer, at least one, to court to fight it, and it probably turns into a fairly expensive battle. If gun shops and gun manufacturers had to show up to every trial, because every time somebody who gets shot with a gun, whether they were criminal or not criminal, or accidental, whether they're a victim of a school shooting, or just a gangster victim, member of a rival gang who got shot, some lawyer, sleazebag lawyer, would be saying, oh, let's sue Colt, let's sue Glock, let's sue the store the gun was sold from, you know, Marty's gun shop. And so if all of those lawsuits were able to go through, they would destroy gun ownership in America, because no gun shops would be able to send lawyers to every possible lawsuit they might ever be named in. They wouldn't be able to get insurance. They wouldn't be able to retain counsel for that type of stuff. And the gun manufacturers also would probably go out of business, because they would just be getting sued day in and day out, even though they did nothing wrong. So they actually have a law protecting them from ever being sued, one of the very few industries that have that protection, simply because there's no other way to keep those companies afloat without that protection. So during the first debate, somebody asked Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders, if they were for or against this thing and a particular law. And Hillary was for repealing that law, and Bernie was against it. And Hillary said, no, we need to repeal the law, and it's not fair that gun makers should have special privileges, and whatnot, not touching the fact that they couldn't exist otherwise, and that these are mostly there to protect from BS lawsuits. But Bernie Sanders actually stood up and defended his position. And he said, no, I voted against it because it's not fair that your neighborhood gun store who only sells a gun because we, the federal government, told them it's okay to sell to this person, that if, as long as they followed all the rules, why should they be able to be sued? You know, it's the government told you it's okay to sell a gun to this person. Why should they fear being sued for what the government tells them is okay to do? So he actually stood his ground in that first debate and was like, no, I wouldn't vote to repeal that law. And he kind of got some boos for it because, you know, people were, you know, especially wherever they were, was a fairly liberal place. And, you know, they didn't like the fact that Bernie Sanders was sticking up for gun shops. He got a little bit of respect from me that night, just a little. Unfortunately, as the campaign went on, I believe he kind of changed his opinion, or at least he stopped promoting the opinion so loudly that he would vote to keep that law. He tried to hide it or put it in the back burner because it just wasn't a popular opinion for Democrats to have. But I imagine there are still some Democrats who feel that, you know, the Second Amendment still applies to a person's ability to own firearms. But yeah, I'm sure it's much fewer than it used to be, especially this last 2018 election cycle. Many moderate Democrats got tossed out, lost their primaries to the far left. So I wouldn't be surprised that almost no such Democrats are left. Zethan says, unequally, the Clintons aren't in the White House. I kind of remember what I was talking about way back then, but not 100%. If you want to rephrase that, I'll try to take a stab at it. Mr. Pete channel. I read that already. Zethan says, that's the Fox News definition of socialism, not the actual one. Thomas Potts says, no votes were changed. I'm not 100% sure to what that's referring to. That's what happens when I get too far behind. That comment came in at 7:37, and it's 8 o'clock. So, yeah, 23 minutes behind. Oof. Zethan says, Hoover wasn't a politician. If he lived in Washington, D.C., he's a politician. Okay? I'm sorry. And he played politics. You can argue that he wasn't a politician, but he played the game of politics. He was a politician. I'm sorry. I'm not going to give that one up. He was a politician. Mr. Pete channel asks Zethan to name one Democrat politician who wants to remove a gun regulation, I'm going to imagine he would have trouble finding such a person. Zethon says to the Mr. Pete channel, stop moving the goalpost. First you said every Dem wants to restrict firearms. Now you're asking to find a Dem that wants to remove regulation. Same difference. Arguable. There are plenty of pro-firearm regulation Republicans. Does that mean they are socialists? Oh, that is true. They are not the same difference. They are two very different things. No, it means Republicans don't follow the leader. Don't have follow the leader mentality. Oh man, you guys are really getting into it. The Mr. Pete channel. Word of advice, the Mr. Pete channel. Don't try too hard with Zethon. You are unlikely to change his mind. I've been trying for many years, but it's just, he's from a very, very, very blue place, and it's just like uncrackable. Republicans are split on many issues. Democrats are 90% similar. Zethon says, you're not even sure what you're talking about, are you? Mr. P channel says, maybe I had too much beer. Fair enough. Zethon had a lot of vodka. So I've got drunk people arguing with drunk people, and I'm reading out their comments one at a time. I don't know who's worse. And Mr. P channel says to Zethon, let's be friends. And Zethon says, yes, let's be buddies. Oh, good, a budding new friendship on my channel. I am touched. Booze is the answer to, and problems of all life's problems. Pretty close to the Homer Simpson's quote that alcohol is the cause of and solution to all the world's problems. Thomas Potts says, I demand to see AT's birth certificate. Oh wait, they didn't have them back then. Now, Thomas, he's only 50 years old. If Obama had a birth certificate in Hawaii, clearly Anti-Tracker had a birth certificate in California. Zethon also wants to see the birth certificate. And then he says, fun fact, I am more American than Joe, and he considers me a gun-tooting liberal. You're not more American than me, Zethon. We are, at best, equally American. We were both born in the United States, although I would say I'm more American since I speak less foreign languages than you. But that's just me. Mr. Pete Channel says, yup, AT was born in cave pots. In a cave pots? You need 75 senators to remove a president from office. Right. So they are never, ever going to remove Trump from office. I don't think we'll ever see a modern-day president removed from office in our lifetimes. I sure as hell hope not. because for 75 senators to agree on something, it would have to be really, really, really bad. And I would hope any president who would even be close to having to be worried about getting 75 votes to being removed from office would hopefully have the class to resign before that came to that, like Nixon. Say what you want about Nixon, he did the right thing in resigning. Zethan says, haha, Joe wants to spend $2.5 billion just to fake placate pro-wall supporters. It's not fake. I mean, there really will be some of the wall built, presumably in the most important places. But it's the whole point of Trump is he negotiates. He started off saying he wanted a wall and it's going to cover the entire border. He will certainly take a wall that will not cover the entire border. That's his whole thing. That's how he operates. He's asking for $5 billion now, which means he'll take $2.5 billion probably. And in another few years, he might ask for $10 billion or another $5 billion. Doesn't mean he won't accept less. It's just that's what he's going to ask for. That's where he starts from. You've got to meet him at some point. That's what politicians are not used to. They're not used to negotiating. Another country comes to them with this trade deal, and they're afraid to negotiate it. It's like they think it's all or nothing. No, every place else in the world negotiates. You go to a shop almost anywhere else in the world, and you can haggle the price. In the United States, you really can't haggle the price on much things. And I like it better that way, don't get me wrong. I like that we don't really do haggling in the U.S., aside from perhaps new cars and some rare things. But the rest of the world, they don't mind haggling. And they expect it, and we don't. And Trump says that idiots accepted these terrible, terrible deals. And when you look at them, they really are terrible deals. Like, why would anybody accept some of these things? And he's already gotten many of them altered. And, of course, the media says hasn't done anything as president. But it's just because they kind of ignore all the things he's actually done. So, yeah. Thomas Pod says, my aunt works for an agency in the government. She is on vacation. Well, it's kind of a forced vacation. If what I've heard is true. For those who haven't noticed, it is indeed the Hypnotoad on the shirt today. Underneath it actually says obey. Obey the Hypnotoad. Hypnotoad. The Hypnoturd is, of course, trademarked by Anti-Tracker. But the original Hypnotoad, that's just fine to use. See, then I work for a private company. I'm on vacation too. Yeah, well, you save up all your vacation days to take the end of the year off. So good for you, Zethan. Mr. Pete Channel says, isn't No wall part of the official DNC platform? It seems like it is now, Mr. Pete, but you can find video from, I believe, as late as 2012 of Hillary Clinton saying that we need a improved border fence, that the border fence is necessary to protect the country, and it is completely absurd how much she changed her opinions between 2012 and 2016 simply because Trump was pro-wall. She had to go the other way. 4 years prior, 6 years prior, she was actually arguing for a improved border fence. Okay, you can call it a fence. Trump calls it a wall. Neither is 100% accurate, but they're the same thing. They're the same thing. Increased security barrier at the border. It didn't used to be a Republican and Democrat thing. It just used to be a common sense thing. People on both sides were for securing the border. When did it become political, right? People like my sister they do not understand. She was afraid that me being so, and I'm not so, I mean, I don't fly a Trump, I don't have a MAGA hat, I don't have a Trump shirt. I mean, I have something similar to it, but I don't have an actual Trump shirt. I don't go out, I don't start talking about Trump on the streets, like saying, hey, let's vote for Trump and whatnot. I don't do that. But she's so afraid that because I talk about Trump without hating and mocking him, that like people that I know are going to get mad at me. Now, yeah, I have one good friend from college who claims to be a Republican, but is very anti-Trump because of his mostly because of Trump's views on immigration. And you know what? It's fine. He has that opinion. It's fine. Yeah, I argue with him from time to time, but it's good like that. We're not against each other. We're not taking it personally. My sister doesn't understand that you can disagree with somebody and not hold it personally against them. The point was she was afraid my nurse, my nurse, who is Haitian, was gonna get mad and stop coming here because I was pro-Trump, or at least not anti-Trump, openly anti-Trump, and that I would occasionally say pro-Trump things. And it is so absurd because my sister just assumes this, that because the woman is Haitian, she must hate Trump. Now, yeah, the woman is not didn't vote for Trump, but the woman's boyfriend is a Trump supporter. She does not hate Trump. She is in favor of the wall. She is in favor of border security. She came here legally. She does not want and does not think it's fair for people to come here illegally. So my sister just assumes that she is going to just stop coming because I must be making her life miserable every time I don't condemn Trump. And of course my sister is the same skin color as me, and she's more offended than somebody else because she just assumes that they're against Trump. And that is more insulting than anything else. And I have other Hispanic friends who voted for Trump, who are totally for the wall. And, because if you came here legally, you probably don't want people coming here illegally. You could have spent thousands of dollars or waited years and years to come, and it's just not fair people to walk over and just show up and say, I'm here, I want legal status, I want to get my driver's license, I want to get, everything I'm entitled to, I'm here. And she doesn't get it, and a lot of other people who are so anti-Trump just don't get it. They don't understand that you can be Mexican and be for Trump, or at least for the border wall, at least for border security. You can be Hispanic, you can be Latino, you can be black, you can be a woman, you can be gay, you could be any of these things and still support Trump or support border security or support any of his individual policies. Obviously I'm in a hospital bed. I've been in a hospital bed for a better part of 10 years and in and out of hospitals. Leading up to the election, I'd gotten out of the hospital. I had a nurse coming to the house who was African American, and the news was on one time when she was coming, and I tried not to speak about politics in front of people I don't know, because it's just not something you usually want to delve into with strangers. But I don't know exactly. Trump was mentioned, and she was like, she initiated it. She said she was voting for Trump because Trump would hopefully end Obamacare. And since she was a nurse for like 30 years or 20 years, whatever, and she saw firsthand how Obamacare made everything worse in healthcare. And she was a African-American woman in New York City who was voting for Trump. So, that breaks all the molds, all the stereotypes, because to her, she actually had a no because she was involved in healthcare, that it was important to her. Excuse me. Sorry about that. But it was important to her to vote based on health care more than the fact that, we should have our first woman president or something. In fact, I don't recall any doctor or nurse I've ever talked with about Obamacare, about Affordable Health Care Act, about any of insurance, saying that what Obama did made things better. Universally, whoever, and I didn't speak to everyone because, like I said, it wasn't a subject I actively brought up. But when the issue came up, universally, every person, whether they were a doctor, a nurse, an EMT, or whatever their training in medicine, whatever their field was, they were somehow related to medicine and medical. 100%, every one of them thought Obamacare was a disaster. And Nobody wants to get rid of the pre-existing conditions issue because that's important. I mean, we need a way for people with pre-existing conditions to get insurance, but Obamacare, as it was written, isn't the way to do it. Prices just kept going up, and quality of service went down. And even though you could claim you had 100 million people with coverage, the fact is the coverage was goddamn useless because the deductibles were so high that the deductibles themselves would probably bankrupt the person before the coverage even kicked in, right? I mean, if you're only making $60,000 a year and you're paying $10,000 or say $5,000, let's say $5,000 cheap. You've got cheap healthcare. You're only paying $5,000 a year for healthcare. But that's not it, because it's not that you're only paying $5,000 a year for healthcare. You're paying $5,000 a year for healthcare for a plan that probably has like a $10,000 deductible. So you're not getting any real benefit aside from some very few things like yearly physical and some very basic stuff they threw in. But if you go in with appendicitis or you go in to the hospital with broken legs or something, you're not really going to see any benefit to having that insurance until you're already $10,000 into debt. And if you're only making $50,000, $60,000 a year and already paying $5,000 of that to health insurance, you don't have $10,000 left over after your rent or your mortgage and your food and your other expenses. So it's not helpful. You literally better off uninsured, because a lot of hospitals will work with you if you're uninsured and give you a much bigger discount than you would have otherwise. And if you have insurance, then the hospital says, sorry, they can't reduce your rate because you have insurance. And if they did it for you, then they'd have to do it for everybody with insurance, and the whole system would collapse. So you're literally better off uninsured than with these ridiculous Obamacare plans. And anybody who's honest with themselves and knows about healthcare has seen and understands what's happening. And I don't know. How far behind am I on comments now? At 7:50, Zethan said, Joe's 20 minutes behind on comments. Mr. P channel needs 600 subs and I are friends now. That was at 7:50. It's 8:23. 33 minutes behind now. Wow, we're going in the wrong direction. Okay, I'm going to start skipping a few comments or reading them fast. Mr. Pete says, all hail Zethan. Not an attack, but I think Ruth Bader Ginsburg should resign. She's getting sick a lot and is falling down. Thomas Potts says, McDonald's made me fat. I'm suing. Yeah, you could. I mean, you could sue them for that. You could sue them for that today. I could sue them for that today. I probably wouldn't win, but legally I could sue them for that. That's just the system we have. Zethan says, I don't disagree. She's trying to fulfill some obligation to protect equality of the Supreme Court of the United States, which is silly. But she's a judge, so it's her right. Thomas Potts. or a mob victim. No, the mob does not, A, the mob doesn't exist, and B, even if they did exist, they would not be going after Supreme Court justices. Especially ones who they don't need to go after because let's face it, you just don't need to. Josh Street. Josh, I don't know if you were here before, but welcome. Thomas betters us in anti-tracker chat time to sue back into his small hole in anti-tracker's office. Okay, it doesn't make sense. I see there's a couple of words wrong in that sentence. Mr. Pete, wait, I just read an article, or she's going in January. This better be real news, not fake. Or is there an article that says Ruth Bader Ginsburg is resigning in January? That would be breaking news. In other breaking news, apparently Trek Yards just went live. They already went live earlier today, so now they're going live for the second time today. So if you guys want to jump over there, don't feel bad. I'll probably go over there when I'm done. Yes. RGB leaving SCOTUS in January. Trump will pack the court. No way, that would be all over the news if it was true. Yeah, I don't. Mr. Pete says Washington News. Zethon says the internet says it's fake news. Oh God. Fake news, you got me. You got me, Mr. Pete. You got me. I gotta check for myself. By the way, speaking of, $17,653,398 compared to $153,671 for the latter. Okay, let's see. Google News. Okay, it would just be at the top if it was really happening. Americans are blaming Trump for shutdown that is likely to last into 2019. Wow, really? I'm going to believe that. Sure, Slate. Because you are a 100% independent news source. Congress punts shutdown into New Year when Democrats will retake the House. Okay, so Congress is purposely extending the shutdown until at least the New Year. Well, yeah, that sounds like something you would blame Trump for, right? Trump shrugs off impact of government shutdown because furloughed workers are Democrats. You know, he's probably not 100% right, but I bet he's more right than wrong. Trump defends signing MAGA hats for service members during visit to Iraq and Germany. Why would he have to defend any of that? Why would he have to even defend that, USA Today? He can sign whatever the hell he wants. He's president of the United States of America. If the troops want a hat that he signed and he can give it to them, good for him. I'm clapping for him in my mind. It's just ridiculous. Killing of California officer prompts manhunt and fuels immigration debate. So I guess an immigrant killed a California officer. Dems' New Year resolution: stiff Trump on the wall and reopen the government. Well, if you guys can reopen the government without Trump, more power to you. How robbers are thwarted by armed bystanders. Oh, you don't want that news getting out. Mother accused of hiding daughter's diabetes, charged in connection with her death. Nothing about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I'll go ahead and search. Okay, absolutely nothing about Ruth Bader Ginsburg resigning. Anyway, okay, I'm going back to the webcam and the chat because my hopes were up and now they are dashed. You gotta be more careful about the fake news, Mr. Pete channel. Vermont is very pro-gun. Yeah, well, that's why Bernie Sanders had half a brain about gun issues. So yeah, I wasn't too surprised, but Thomas Potts says, every Democrat I know wants people locked up for owning guns. Zethon says, you're wrong. Well, how can you know he's wrong? He's saying every Democrat he knows. How do you know every Democrat he knows? Zethon says, you need to take phone calls. That's right, you used to take phone calls on your show. I should do that. I have a Skype number. I could take calls. I could take phone calls. Not tonight, but maybe next time. I have a call-in show. We could do something like that. Yeah, we could definitely do something like that. Josh Street, the Democrats where I live love their guns, but when it comes to Democrats that want to take their guns away, they will vote for them. Yep, that's an issue. Zethon says he's more red than Joe. Proof my guns. Yes, Zethon has guns. I was forced to give up my guns because they are so hard to legally keep in New York City that I could not go through the hoops now that I'm not able to travel like I used to. I had to sell my guns to a legally licensed federal firearms person, and I really hated doing it because My father did not leave many things. There were not many heirlooms in the family, but there were a couple of guns that had been in the family for a while, and nobody else in the family wanted to take them. This was right after Sandy Hook. Nobody wanted to take the guns, and my sister would have. As liberal as she is, she does like guns, but she had not done any paperwork to get a license, and probably her apartment building probably didn't allow them anyway. So there was nothing we could do. They had to go. Mr. Pete channel, I'm calling it rather 5 months or 5 years RBG will die in office. 5 years? You think she's got that long? I don't know. Good for her if she does. I just don't want her suffering. Thomas Potts, vodka. Watch out, that's collusion. Yep. Yeah, Trump could have colluded with his Trump vodka. That makes sense. I mean, why does a guy who doesn't drink alcohol even come out with a vodka? That sounds like KGB plot to me. Zethon, I'm older, therefore I've been American longer. Expo, I am more American. That's one way to looking at it, I will grant you. Yeah, you're older. I'll grant you that one. Speaking of vodka, I have 10 Forward vodka. Mr. Pete, I am jealous. I saw the 10 Forward vodka. I got really close to ordering it on the website, but then when I saw the shipping charge on top of the charge, and on top of the fact I will never drink it, and I really just wanted it to have the fancy bottle, I decided not to waste my money on it. But yeah, that would have been nice. I just couldn't justify the expense, but I'm glad you've got it. 10 Forward vodka, straight from the Enterprise D. A percentage of 10 Forward vodka, and by a percentage meaning well less than 1%, actually flew in space. Like, I assume they took like a gallon of vodka, sent it up into space, and then mixed it in with the thousands and thousands of gallons of vodka here on Earth, so that they can legally and honestly claim that probably in any given bottle at least one molecule in your bottle has actually flown in space. So yeah, it's an interesting gimmick. Josh Street, Berto Prey 5 is wearing Hypnoturd underwear. No, this isn't underwear, this is a t-shirt. Here's a Tremors joke. Make a concrete barrier with a 100-foot gap in between with Garboid. Graboid. If people can make it, then they can stay. Mr. Pete, fact, Trump got 8% of the black vote, the most for a Republican since Nixon. It may not sound like a lot, but it helped put him over. Zethon says, I did not vote for Trump in 2016, and Zethon knows I did not vote for Trump in 2016 either, but I plan to in 2020. At this point, I mean, who knows what will happen between now and then, but barring any major change, I feel like I'll probably be voting for him come 2020. Trump got 26% of the Hispanic vote, while Romney, whose grandfather was Mexican, got 24%. Zethon, ever since Obamacare, my prices have gone down, and my quality of service either remained the same or arguably improved. Wow, Zethon, you've drank the Kool-Aid. You must be the only person in America whose costs have gone down and quality has improved. I would challenge you to find someone else with that same belief. Maybe, well, you also changed states, right? You were living in one state, and shortly after the election or before the election, you moved to a completely different state, and then you moved to yet another state. So perhaps you moving had to do with the change in costs and change in quality of health care. I don't think you can attribute it to Obamacare. Zethon, Bird of Prey, there are plenty of people who are honest with themselves who would absolutely say Obamacare has done them well and benefited their families. Yes, there are people with pre-existing conditions who were impossible to get insurance, now have insurance, and they have the money, or they're, they might have a $10,000 deductible, but when they need $100,000 in treatment a year, that's a good deal. And I know someone on JUOT who was in pretty much exactly that situation, that his daughter needed some very high-cost treatment. It was impossible to get coverage before Obamacare. Post-Obamacare, he was able to get the coverage for her. Actually, he was able to get her covered under his own plan for a couple of years because she was under 26. And long-term, even after that, she'd be able to get her own coverage. And while it would be very expensive, it would be a lot less expensive than the impossibly high costs it would have been otherwise. So yes, in rare cases, Obamacare has helped people in unique situations. That said, overall, the nurses and the doctors who are on the front lines of this, and most citizens can see that it has not helped. I'm not going to say it's not helped anyone, but it is overall not been a great help. And like I said, we're all in favor. Trump is in favor. We're all in favor of keeping the part of the law where you have to offer coverage to people with pre-existing conditions, because that is just terrible. You get sick when you need it the most, and now you can't get insurance because you have a pre-existing condition. That's crazy. So yes, we all want that. That is the one good part of the law, and we all want to keep that part. But that is it. That's the only real good part of the law. Mr. P Channel says, sorry guys, but Track Yards is on. You don't need to apologize. I understand. Zethon says, I'm Team Bird of Prey. Well, at least you are, Zethon. Although, to be honest, like I said, I will probably go over to Track Yards once this is done. Zethon, someone has to defend AT on Track Yards. Someone has to defend Anti-Tracker on Track Yards. Josh Street is Foley and his better half Sylvia. Oh, Sylvia's on? Oh, then I definitely need to go over. I've never actually seen Sylvia. I wonder if she's going to look like I imagine she looks. We'll see. Josh Street, Bird of Prey, aren't you an anti-tracker running in 2020? If he wants to be my VP, I'll run. FSA fan, hello Bird of Prey 5. This is Lee from Tennessee. Peace and long life. Kapla FSA fan. Peace and long life to you. Live long and prosper. If I could do it like that. Are you? Did you find me from Anti-Tracker or some other? Find your way here some other way. Well, I will be calling it quits soon, and frankly going over to Track Yard stream. Thank you guys all for coming, and so this just turned into one big political rant. So that's it. We never know. You never know what this stream is going to be. Zethon says, I'm streaming Bird of Prey and Track Yards while watching Great Game of Thrones and drinking vodka. Well, that's probably not the best idea. FSA fan, yes, Anti-Tracker. First time I ever watched him totally by chance. It's very cool, FSA fan. He's a good guy. I think you're going to have a lot of fun watching him. I don't know what time. Well, you're in Tennessee, so you're in his time zone. He's actually out of Murfreesboro, Tennessee himself. He goes on tonight on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. His live stream starts usually between 11 and 11:30 p.m. at night. So be ready if you're up that late to get a notification that if he's going live. I mean, he will go live at some point. Get ready to get one of those notifications. And if you're up earlier in the day on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, he goes live around 11 to 11:30 a.m. Mostly for people in Europe who are fast asleep by 11 p.m., but also for people like me who go to sleep well before 11 p.m. So definitely keep up with Anti-Tracker. FASA Publications, a Star Trek. Star Trek, the role-playing game. I'm not familiar with that game. And Zethon says, don't forget breakfast tomorrow at 10 a.m. Yep. If you're interested in watching Zethon cook eggs and bacon, well, all we know is bacon. I'm not sure what else. Some type of breakfast tomorrow involving bacon. Subscribe to Zethon. He goes on around 10 a.m. Eastern with his breakfast stream, live breakfast stream. The game is circa 1983. Well, that's why I don't know it. I would have been 5 years old. So, thank you, FSA fan. Hopefully, I will see you on my next stream. I'm going to call this one a night. Kapla. Kapla, everyone. FSA fan. You'll notice that I'm coming in and out of existence. Don't worry, it is just problems with my holodeck. We will get the holodeck sorted out one day. In the meantime, Kronos. Sorry, boss, I didn't want to lose my finger. I'm here. Zethon says, bye, Joe. Oh, don't say you love me. Make me feel dirty and awkward. Kronos, Kapla, Kronos. But you came at the end, Kronos. We're all going over to Track Yards. Track Yards is live, and apparently Sylvia is on. If anybody hasn't left yet, please hit like. Please verify you're subscribed. Please verify you've hit the bell icon, because without hitting the bell icon, you'll never get notification that I released anything or that I'm going live. Sorry about that, but I always forget to tell people to do that. So, good night. Kapla. I suggest everybody head over to Track Yards. I'm going to go over there and see what's going over. What is a Track Yards? Well, Yards. Okay, it's Track Yards. Like I'm pretty sure you know. TREKYARDS. You put it in YouTube, you will see Track Yards. It's like got 40,000 plus subscribers. It is a very, very famous Star Trek channel. With that, good night. And Kapla.